Good morning, everybody. I know we're still waiting on a few attendees, but we're going to get started so that we keep everything running on time here. We are recording this webinar, so we will post that to YouTube later today, and we will also send out a follow-up email with the link. So if you missed the beginning of this, not to worry, you will be able to access that at a later time. Just a few housekeeping notes in terms of scheduling these webinars. We're planning to do these the second week of every month. I'll be covering that in more detail toward the end of the webinar, but I wanted to give a heads up that that's going to be a regular occurrence. So save the date for the second Thursday of every month. At the end of this session, there will be a Q&A. So please, throughout the presentation, type your questions into the questions box, which is in the panel, showing up on your screen to the right-hand side. It's toward the bottom. And we will answer all of those in the order that they're received at the end of the webinar, as many as time allows. And then also, under the questions part in the toolbar, there's a little section called handouts. I have uploaded the handouts that contain all of the slides for this webinar, as well as the product cards for all of the products that we're going to be showcasing today. So let's dive in. If I can get the screen, there we go. Okay, so who are we? I'll introduce myself. I'm Catherine Douglas. I'm the marketing director here at Highland. I started earlier this year, and I came with 11 years in marketing and communications experience, both in the U.S. and overseas. So that's me. And then also we have John Mills, who's our Director of Quality and Compliance. And he is 22 years with this company, Mount Angel Vitamins' parent company, which is Highland Laboratories. He started here in 1994. He was instrumental in designing our laboratory facilities. Prior to coming here, he spent 10 years in biochemical research, where he was responsible for GLP implementation in an analytical laboratory. So again, please ask your questions, because this man is an encyclopedia of knowledge in this industry. So just going over today's plan. So the title of this is Mind, Mood, and Memory Support, like CrossFit for your brain. So the thinking behind this was it's time for everybody to go back to work, back to school. 'Tis the month for that. Summer has kind of come to a close. We're rolling into the fall. So we're just trying to dust the cobwebs off the brain. So obviously we've done introductions, but I'll go through the company overview. What is Mount Angel Vitamins? We'll talk a little bit about brain health, and then we'll dive into the product review, do a Q&A, and we'll wrap it up at the end with some follow-up information. So Mount Angel Vitamins, our brand promise is simple, proactive wellness. This supplement space is fairly overwhelming, especially for people who are new users. Also people who have other responsibilities in life, people who have children or aging parents who are kind of stretched in both directions, working and doing all the things that all of us do on a daily basis. And then also just people who want a plan or need guidance on what they should be taking, or what, could be taken with what, and what's safe to take. And so it can be quite overwhelming and confusing to take vitamins and supplements. And we've seen some of our competitors which have very heavy diversification of product lines, 12 different multivitamins for, your age or your gender, mood, energy, weight, all of those things. And so, there's a lot of options on the table. The market is showing a change in heavy users, those who take 6 or more supplements a day, moving toward light users, those who are taking more than, sort of in the 1 or 2 a day area. And all of that information comes from TABS Analytics, if anybody watches that. But what we're trying to do is understand that in this country we have very busy lifestyles, we have a lot of responsibilities and tasks and demands on our time. So our goal is to really simplify the space. We make really high quality, just very comprehensive products. We do these single bottle solutions, one comprehensive formula for a particular structure or function. And some of those we'll talk about today, and you can see sort of how we approach this. But we understand that wellness is so much more than just physical. It's emotional, it's social, financial, spiritual. We want to support all of those areas of your life. We know that our products support the physical and the emotional part, but we also want to be a part of the rest of it as well. And then on the environmental side, our concern extends from your wellness and the consumer wellness to our environment's wellness. All of our bottles are compostable. They are biopolymer PLA. We were actually the first vitamins and supplements company to use these bottles back in 2006. They produce 75% less greenhouse gas and use 50% less non-renewable energy than traditional plastics like PET and PS. They are compostable in a municipal facility. You can go to a website called findacomposter.com and put in your information, your zip code or your city, and it will tell you where the nearest composter is. And then just a little bit about brain health. Our approach is that you should always look at your lifestyle before looking at vitamins and supplements. So that's what a supplement is it's there to fill any gaps in your health. And you should always review these areas first in lifestyle before taking any supplements. So these are the areas that impact your brain health and much of your other areas of health too. If you look at sleep as being sleep deprivation being the main thing that drains your brain, during sleep your body cleans up metabolic wastes and toxins in the brain that would otherwise contribute to Alzheimer's disease and neurological disorders. A poor diet, things like dehydration, excessive sugar, food allergies, sensitivities, bad fats, lacking key nutrients like vitamin B12, omega-3s, iron, all those things affect your brain health. A lifestyle with sedentary behavior, smoking, heavy metal or toxin exposure, obesity, stress. So again, these are things that you should be looking at first before you get into supplements. But with that, we are now going to talk about the 4 products that we make that are going to support your brain health. And with that, I will turn it over to John Mills, our Director of Quality and Compliance. John, take it away.
Thank you. Catherine, I don't have control over the slides, so I'm going to ask you to go ahead and forward the slides for me. We're going to first talk about BrainFlex. With BrainFlex, it's a unique formula, and it has vitamins, nootropics, amino acids, herbs, and fatty acids associated with it. If you look down through that particular list of ingredients, there is solid research on the ginkgo biloba supporting the circulation and memory. Nootropics are substances that affect brain function. They support cognitive function in the brain. Typically, they originally started gathering some impetus, and you've heard of one recently in the form of vinpocetine having some press recently. But the nootropics are products or materials like L-glutamine, DMAE, L-pyroglutamate, L-taurine, and these are found in the BrainFlex formulation. Brains are composed of fatty acids. Fatty acids are comprised of two particular two major ones for the brain. There are a number of them that are out there. The 2 major ones that we've included in this particular formulation are phosphatidylserine and phosphatidylcholine. Acetyl-L-carnitine is the only form of carnitine that readily crosses that blood-brain barrier where it impacts the energy cycle of the mitochondria. And then CoQ10 is a major nutrient in cellular energy. And going back up and talking a little bit about the brain membranes, my research when I was looking at earning my master's degree in chemistries, I looked at membranes, literally at membranes. We looked at simple membranes, typically comprised of phosphatidylserine and phosphatidylcholine, and we were looking at toxic effects on those membranes. We found that with the toxins we were exploring, we were able to identify a specific phosphatide that was affected significantly by these toxins, and that was the phosphatidylserine. Phosphatidylserine is absolutely essential for proper membrane function because that seems to be the one that is most closely associated with any of the transporters that occur within the membrane. So if there are proteins in the membrane which drag components across the membrane like CoQ10 or other components, phosphatidylserine is the most closely associated membrane or most closely associated phosphatide associated with that particular transporter. Whenever you have the potassium sodium shunts, which are essentially cage arrangements in the membrane that these ions travel through, then that particular shunt is critical to having phosphatidylserines around it. If you disrupt the phosphatidylserine, then you've disrupted that membrane function. So the membranes die, essentially, at that point. So that's an important aspect of nutritional component for the brain and brain activity. Also, when you're looking at these things, the actual nutrient factors which are associated with the brain are components such as acetylcarnitine, and once again, that is the only form of carnitine which is an essential portion of lipid metabolism. That's the only form that will cross the blood-brain barrier, which is a very unique barrier that is associated with protecting the brain. So as your blood flow goes up into the brain, there is the barrier there that prevents just anything from getting through. That's what helps prevent bacteria from getting through. That's what helps prevent other ions from getting through. What helps prevent minerals from getting through. It helps prevent all these different components. Well, there are certain minerals, certain nutrients, certain vitamins which are permeable to that membrane. The membrane allows them to go through. Carnitine will not go through the membrane. However, once it's been acetylated, and normally that requires an activity in the liver where you have an acetyl-CoA enzyme where it attaches then the acetyl group to the carnitine, which then permits that key to get it across the blood-brain barrier. And then, of course, CoQ10 is one of those nutrients which we see frequently in mitochondrial activities. Mitochondrial activity is a complete cascade of a nutrient or vitamins and other components which start with vitamin C and go all the way down through CoQ10. Selenium is part of that process. Once again, the carnitines are part of that process. All those are part of that process, that cascade of sequence of energy form in there. So that's a very important aspect of this particular product. Once again, the nootropics, going backwards up the list, nootropics, then L-glutamine, L-pyroglutamate, L-taurine, all these have some positive research associated with them, especially in relationship to cognitive function. And then the ginkgo biloba, the herbal portion of this particular thing, as part of that herbal portion of this thing, the ginkgo biloba has some serious research behind it to support cerebral blood flow. And that's the whole point behind it. So it's assumed that once you have improved cerebral blood flow, that you will increase your brain function at that point in time. Okay, moving on then to Memory Boost. Memory Boost is different than Brain Flex. Brain Flex is meant nutritionally. It is a broad range. It's like taking an overall approach to brain health. It's meant for consistent, over time use of material. Memory Boost is a little bit different in that it is more designed toward cognitive function, and it's more of a short-term type application. Niacinamide is the main vitamin that's found in this product. This again, and you can see it has a triple approach to this, similar to what BrainFlex had, and that we have a vitamin, an herbal, and then an amino acid approach also. Niacinamide, vitamin B3 being the vitamin approach, guarana seed in combination with the L-theanine is the amino acid approach, and then we have the Panax ginseng being an adaptogen involved in this process. The original research for niacinamide came out in the 50s, and the most recent written about this particular set of research was done by the Townsend Newsletter for Doctors. It was published several years ago by Dr. Alan Gaby, And in it, he reviewed the niacinamide research that was done by these two researchers. I believe they were at Johns Hopkins Hospital. In their research, they determined that niacinamide improved their brain function so well that they would set their alarms to wake up every 4 hours and take 250 milligrams every 4 hours. And so it was one of those things, and they noticed then the improvement in their total connectivity associated with what they were doing. These were researchers who were in their 80s, and they were able to contribute fresh, new, groundbreaking, edge-side research at that time. Guarana and theanine in combination. The guarana seed has a little bit of caffeine. We didn't really put the guarana seed in here for the caffeine component so much as we put it in there for the other components associated with the caffeine, all the polyphenols, all the other guaranosides, all those other different components associated with guarana seed. The L-theanine, though, has a unique function in that it allows for a calming effect in the body. It helps you to feel that things aren't quite so bad. It helps to calm down a little bit. And what's really exciting about theanine and guarana seed together is that little tiny bit of caffeine, that 6 milligrams of caffeine that's in the product, in combination with the L-theanine, increases cognitive performance. And then, of course, the Panax ginseng is one of those components in there which is a broad range, a broad approach, again, especially coming out of Chinese medicines associated with adaptogenic properties, coming out of Chinese medicines helping the body tonify itself, having the body adapt to itself, helping the brain adapt, because ginsenosides don't affect just the liver, they don't affect the body. And then moving on to omegas. Omega QD. Okay. The Omega Up product, omegas are an interesting product in that they have, there's two different components associated with. Now, everyone knows that omegas have EPA, and I mean, everyone knows that even the FDA has acknowledged that there is a vital health function associated with fish oils, omega-3s. What's not really clearly known is that the two components in there, EPA typically associated with cardio function, the DHA is very much associated with brain function. In fact, it's so important, especially to a developing brain, that it is required to be included in all infant formulas. So sometimes what's good for the kids is what's good for the parents, what's good for the adults. So the DHA component in there provides a nice portion of support associated with the brain. Now, if you look at the product, 2 capsules provide 600 milligrams of total omega-3s. The average analysis showing you here, and we do assay these to determine if the EPA and DHA content are met. So this is a product which we do verify in that process. But this particular component, the DHA component, the DHA side of this, is an essential aspect of any type of body health. Now, how important is this? So far, 2 of the products that I take every day, we've talked about today. Omega Up is one of those products I take. I take 4 of these soft gels every day, and I also take 2 of the Memory Boost every day. So let's move on to the next product. Feel Good. This particular product I developed for my wife. It is a product that was designed around a triple approach, a threefold approach. If you look at the formulation, if you go to the label copy, in the formulation it has minerals, it has herbal components to it, and it has an amino acid again. So once again, it's a threefold approach. The chromium in combination with Banaba are glucose support materials. They help support normal glucose levels in individuals. They help you to keep your glucose levels normalized throughout the day. At any time you can control glucose, you don't have as many feelings of anxiety or not anxiety. Um, you don't have as many feelings of discomfort in association with crowds. You don't have as much issues associated with not feeling like you can get out and do things. The feel good is designed around helping a person calm down and feel like they're more connected with the world. So, and cocoa seed has a wonderful set of properties to it. Theobroma cacao, of course, comes from the Central America region originally. Now it's found everywhere in the world. But this particular component was taken by the Aztec kings because it helped them to connect better mentally in everyday life. It helped improve their cognitive function and was considered a food of the gods. Um, if you want to talk about true ambrosia, I have to say cocoa seed is probably the closest you can come to being a truly ambrosic food. Magnolia bark, along with holy basil and ashwagandha, passion flower, these are all which help support that mood level in individuals. You feel better when you're able to take some of these herbs. I know that magnolia bark and also the holy basil have a long history in Mediterranean medicines associated with helping individuals to feel better and more connected with getting out and being a part of crowds, being a part of society. Green tea with its standardized polyphenol and catechin content, once again, we go into an adaptogenic process. Catechins are a very unique material that help support a variety of antioxidant systems in the body. Ashwagandha root is an adaptogenic process, comes out of Indian medicinal practices, the Ayurvedic practices. Passion flower is a North American herb. It comes out of the down near Florida, Georgia, Alabama, in that area there. That's where it originated, and the whole idea behind the passion flower is the Native American community in that area were utilizing this material, and so when the white settlers came in from Europe and the like, they then adopted that particular use for that particular product, which is what we use for it today. Now, the L-theanine, again, is something you're already familiar with because it's found in the in Memory Boost. L-theanine has that natural process to help the body feel a little bit calmer in how it approaches things. But then once again, because of that calmness effect, it has a tendency towards encouraging cognitive recognition. So you have that opportunity then to feel more connected with what's going on around you, and the cognitive function in that process is where that connection comes from. So once again, it's a three-pronged approach to the product set. Anytime you feel better about yourself, you feel more connected to the world, you feel more cognitively empowered. So that's all part of that important process in how you're looking at things. How would I use these products? Well, I currently use, I told you earlier, 2 of them. I use 3 of these different products. I use the Memory Boost, I use the Omegas, and I use the Feel Good. Those 3 I take every day. That's part of my natural process. Some people look at me and they think I'm crazy because I take a lot of products. I do take a lot of products because I feel better connected with the world around me. I feel better able to answer questions that I am constantly bombarded with daily, and also able to interact positively with coworkers as well as family and the world life that I encounter with, that I become part of, that I am part of. So these 3 products are the ones that I use mostly, and I do anticipate at some point engaging in brain flex, because that is just a natural part of a nutrient process for the body. Okay. So that's what I have to talk about today. I'm willing to take any questions that would be associated with the product set or others if we have time.
Thanks, John. Yeah, if you have any questions, there again is a question box in your toolbar to the right of your screen. It's close to the bottom there. It just says questions. Just type in any questions that you have. We currently don't have any, so I'll just give you maybe a few moments to type something in, and if nothing comes up, we'll move on to the closing arguments, as it were. Okay, well, I'll move on to the next slide, and if anything pops up in the meantime, we can always come back to that. Um, Again, we want to say thank you for taking time out of your morning to attend this webinar. I want to apologize for not showing the slides initially. A little tiny oversight, forgot to show my screen, but I promise you that the next time we do this in October that I will make sure to do that. If you are interested in learning any more about purchasing these products, these are the 3 contacts that we have here at our company. Jody, who is here in our Oregon office, Jeremiah, who lives in Washington State, and then Larry down in Florida. And any 3 of those would be very happy to take any questions or requests for information. Their emails and their phone numbers are listed there for your convenience. Our next webinar will be held on October 13th, and that will be on immune support. So sort of going into that, cold and flu season, looking at some of the products that might be able to help support your immune function. I will send out some information on that once we get that all put together, probably in the next 2 weeks. And on this webinar, I will send follow-up emails with a recording of the webinar. It will also be posted to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in, continuing to be on an email list to receive newsletters, please email me. I'm Catherine at highlighed.com. And still no questions, so I guess we will wrap it up. And thank you, John, for all of the information. Thank you to all the attendees for spending your morning with us, and we look forward to seeing you on October 13th. Thanks, everybody.